Welcome to the Hyperpolyglot Activist, Learn Languages, Make a Difference. My name is Dr. Carlos Yebra Lopez, and today we're going to talk about the whole is just semantics. How many times have you heard this? Well, I believe that many people who say this do not really understand the difference between semantics and word choice on the one hand, and what is the nature of the relationship between language and the world on the other. If you too are wondering about this, stay tuned. See, the phrase "it's just semantics" has become shorthand to insinuate that the speaker has argued something that is rather trivial or unimportant. But is this legit criticism or just a major cop-out? Let's find out. So what is semantics? Semantics is the scientific study of meaning as expressed as manifested in language, whether it is a natural language like German or Japanese, or formal languages like computer programming or logics. So now the question becomes, how do humans search for and find meaning in language? And there are three main sources: dictionaries, the mind, and the world. Let's break them down. First off, the dictionary. Dictionaries are written by lexicographers and identify the meaning of a word with a definition. However, defining words with other words eventually leads to circular definitions. Therefore, many must involve connections between language and something beyond it. If we take a psychological approach, then the meaning of a word is the mental picture of that word. If I say dog, whatever you picture in your mind, that's the meaning of that word. And finally, we have the world. This is called referentialist semantics. And according to referentialist semanticists, the meaning of a word is the connection between that word and the external world. So going back to our phrase, "it's just semantics," it's a phrase that people seem to use when they want to say that the disagreement they're having with somebody else is due to word choice and not due to a substantive disagreement. So in practice, "it's just semantics" is a passive-aggressive accusation against the speaker as being annoyingly precise or pedantic, unnecessarily so. However, and this is the key point I want to make, notice that this position assumes that words, ideas, and the world out there can be entirely independent from each other, so that differences that belong to the realm of words do not carry any implications into the ideas or concepts we're trying to describe and or the reality we're trying to make reference to. And this is a deeply flawed paradigm as to the nature of the relationship between words, ideas, and the world. We can see this very clearly if we think of three different paradigms on the relationship between words, ideas, and the world. The first paradigm is what we can call non-discursive ontologism, and this is the one that people who embrace the old "is just semantics" subscribe to. In this paradigm, there are words, ideas, and the world, and these three are entirely separated from each other, so that changes in the words we choose do not affect the ideas expressed with those words or the world out there. So from this perspective, whether we choose to call a famous heavyweight champion of the world Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay, it doesn't make any difference. That person is still the same person. From this perspective too, whether I choose to use your pronouns or not, it doesn't make any difference on who you are. Why do I need to use they to refer to you if I can also use he or she and you are still the same person? Because words are entirely separated, independent from reality, and there is no connection whatsoever between these two realms. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, there's a good reason why it is ridiculous. This paradigm fails to have critical understanding as to the relationship between words, ideas, and the world. Now there's a second paradigm which is also highly problematic: discursive ontologism. Proponents of this position reject the claim that ideas and the world exist independently of their discursive construction. But then they go on to say that ideas and the world are merely sociocultural constructs. And this obviously opens the door to subjectivist and relativistic understandings, as well as to disengagement from the material study of the world. Let me give you an example. If you are 30 years old but self-identify as being 12 years old, then you are 12 years old. Why? Because the construction of your reality is entirely discursive. It doesn't need to be verified or checked against any outer reality out there. If you are 5'6" but you self-identify as being 6 feet tall, then you are 6 feet tall. If you have 2 legs but you self-identify as having 4 legs, then that's all there is to it. There is no need to check that against any sort of external reality. Again, this is obviously absurd, which tells us that this paradigm is not critical enough about the relationship between words, ideas, and the world. Both non-discursive and discursive ontologism fail to be sufficiently critical about that complex relationship. So what is the solution to this? Well, there's a third paradigm called critical realism. On the one hand, critical realists agree with non-discursive ontologists that words exist independently from ideas and the world out there. However, unlike them, critical realists contend that there is a degree of interaction between words, ideas, and the world out there. However, this doesn't mean that, just like discursive ontologists think, there is no separation between words, ideas, and the world. These three realms are independent yet interconnected. So there is a never-ceasing, mutually constitutive relationship between words, ideas, and the world. It is this dialectical relationship that allows for words to have an impact on people's perception of the world and the world out there, as well as for those ideas and world out there to render certain meanings possible. This is what allows us to understand that when we call Muhammad Ali by his slave name, Cassius Clay, that is offensive to him because that affects his psychological perception. That has an impact in ideas and the world out there. And by the same token, if we choose not to call someone by his, her preferred pronouns, then we are failing to do justice to their self-image, which has an impact in his, her, their self-esteem. So now we have ourselves a paradigm that is critical enough about the relationship between words, ideas, and the world out there. And from this perspective, we can now understand why the claim "it's just semantics" doesn't make sense. No pun intended. Why? Because "it's just semantics" presupposes that there are words and that they are entirely independent from ideas and the world out there. And that leads to absurd conclusions, as we've seen before. So in conclusion, it's never just semantics, because when it's just semantics, by which people mean lexicography, word choice, that word is always already tied to certain ideas and the world out there, having an effect on those, and those in turn having an effect on the words and phrases we use. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have understood that it is never just semantics, and as always, thanks for watching.